The spreadsheet we're going to look at this time, we're going to look at a cash flow analysis. This is a very common type of spreadsheet and it's very, very useful. And the reason for doing this particular one, I think, is that it kind of cements the view of spreadsheets as something which is used a lot in kind of financial calculations, but also because when you're planning a business or planning your personal household finances, this is a very useful kind of spreadsheet to create. So, step number one, it's got to look nice. If I look at the spreadsheet, it's got figures in it, and I haven't put in any calculations yet, but no doubt it will be very useful, but it's not going to look very pretty and won't print out very well. And I really want to make a printout and put it in my finance folder. So I'm just going to do a little bit of formatting. So very commonly what you'll do is you'll use shading for column rows or for, so I'm just going to use some light shading. I'm going to turn that bold. So I'm working with the font, I'm working with the alignment. Okay. The heading row very often is centered. Titles and headings are very often centered. And these labels over here, I'm also going to just make them bold and put them in. It doesn't have to be really, really fancy or anything. I could go and I could change the font face, the size of the font and things like that. So classically titles will be a bit bigger and, whatever it is. But I'm not going to do terribly much work with that. Just pretty it up a little bit so when it prints it looks nice. And of course putting in, if I put here all borders, then it puts borders around all the cells. It may look as if they're borders on the sheet, but they aren't. They won't print. So what do I do next? Well, once you've kind of prettied one, very often what I do is while I'm formatting a sheet like this, I'm also kind of thinking about what it means and what it does and what formula I'm going to need to put in. So we've got a balance brought forward. So I've got 2,100 Rand at the beginning of January. That's money left over from Christmas. I can see you laughing. Yeah. And here's money that's coming in. Just starting out, got a new job, and I'm taking home 19,000. My tax is that. Other income, I get 500 Rand from an investment I have with my brother-in-law. And I've got utilities bill to pay, I've got rent to pay, got to pay car payments for my cell phone, food, clothing, university fees, and then I've got an entertainment budget. So what I've done is I've kind of put in some of these I know. So that is my salary, that is the other income. The tax might vary from month to month, but that's what it was in January, so that's what I'm putting down. Utility bill is going to go up and down, but it's usually around 2,000, either just under or just over, etc., etc. So some of these are actual figures, some of them are projections, and that's fine with a spreadsheet. What you do with a spreadsheet is, as the actual figures arrive, you punch them in and you get a slightly altered figure. Now, that's the money brought forward, but here's the money that's carried forward. So if you think about it, that's really adding this column up. And you'll notice there are minus signs in front of any money that is going out. Like tax I have to pay out, utilities I'm paying out. Now I know in accounting practices very often, money that goes out is a plus sign. And, I don't know how accounting works, but this spreadsheet makes sense to me. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm just going to format that as currency. And that you should be very familiar with now, Rand, English, and it just pops in. Remember, if any of the columns are too small and they're not making any sense, you just go click, click to make it wider. And if that's too small, you'll notice January there's very small, and so the numbers don't fit in. And they show up as hashtags. And you just have to widen the column so that you can see the whole number. If any part of the number is hidden, it'll just show up as a hashtag. It's not a mistake, you've just got to make your column a bit wider. So that cash brought forward, well, what is that? It's basically a total, it's the sum of that column, money coming in and money coming out. So I'm just going to do an auto sum there, Should be very familiar with that by now. Just double check. B2 to B13. B2 to B13. Yeah, that's right. So I'm going to come out with 201 Rand at the end of that month. Way, this isn't looking too good. Now, the money carried forward for February will basically be that amount there. So to get there, all I need to do is type in a formula. It's equals, and what is it equals? It's whatever's in that cell. So if these figures change, then my brought forward is also going to change. So it's equal to cell B14. And if I click that, you'll notice that money has appeared there. Now, what happens if I then copy that across all the way to December? And you'll notice that's showing as C14, which is that cell. That one shows as D14. So it's showing correct cells, but of course there's nothing here, so it's showing as blank. So what I can do now is just copy that across. And you'll notice by the end of the year, I've got minus 20,000. Now, this is the whole purpose of a cash flow analysis. That shows me which months I'm going to have money in hand, which months I'm not going to have money in hand. So clearly, I'm going to need to economize. So I have to go into my January and kind of look, well, where can I economize? I can't economize on the tax. The utility bill is going to be pretty standard. The rent, the car, cell phone. Well, if I make fewer calls, maybe I can take that down 100 Rand. Just make fewer calls, make sure I use the Wi-Fi and WhatsApp more. Okay, so that brings me out a little bit, but I'm still, by the end of the year, I'm 20,500 down. So food, I really like my food. You can see from my figure, but okay, let's see if I can get it down. Say shave off 500 Rand. Oh, I'm still way short. Clothing. Okay. MR Prese, I'll just get a t-shirt once a month. That'll be fine. Uni fees, I can't really save on that. Entertainment. Okay, maybe I'm not going to have as lavish a lifestyle as I was imagining. Let's cut that in half, see if that helps. And you'll notice it has helped for January. February, I'm still, by February, I'm in minus territory. So very drastically, I have to change something. I can't afford that rent. I'm going to have to move. I'm going to have to move somewhere way cheaper. And you'll notice that allows me to survive a few months longer, but I'm still living well beyond my means. So what I'm going to have to do is by March, I'm going to have to get a raise. So hopefully my salary will go up a little bit. And that should change everything. Yes, yay! Then I'll be able to afford more entertainment and so on. So that's basically how a spreadsheet for a cash flow analysis would work. I could just add a total here as well, work out my total salary, and that's an at sum, but instead of the column, it's the row. So sum B3 to M3, yeah, B to M, that's January 3 to December, and I could just copy all of that down to get totals for all of my categories, to see what I'm spending on total on tax and utilities and so on. Well, that's a very, 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 very useful spreadsheet. And again, you can make a chart of any part of it. So I could make a chart of my utility bill to see how much it's going up during winter, for example. And to do that, all I would do is I would select all these figures with my mouse. I would go insert, and then I would choose the type of chart. Because it's showing change over time, I'm probably looking for a bar chart or something like that. And I broke the cardinal rule. Can you see that? I included the total. That's why you get this really weird looking chart. Now, obviously, a chart of figures which are all the same is pretty useless, but my utility bill is going to go up and down. This figure will change. So create your own, from scratch, create your own cash flow analysis. Make one that makes sense to you with categories that make sense to you, and then upload it as assignment 5.